Welcome, teenies new and old, to Wits and Crits, a roundtable Q&A style podcast hosted by me, your resident dice goblin, and the dip-in resident vanilla
Got
guard
it in
boy.
one!
Resident vanilla guard boy, lava chip, gremlin, Hayden. I'm the player for Aviana, Kolesh, Regan, Aylox, and Afia New Ione. This is the first time I've done this, I promise.
This is definitely the first time this recording has started.
For those who are finding us for the first time, hi, we are Nat 19. We're a group of actors, performers, and improvisers who've come together through our love of storytelling and mutual nerdery. Today, on the show, I have Logan, Laidlaw, and Braden Alexander. Go ahead and introduce yourselves, and hopefully you can talk better than I can today.
Hi, I'm Braden Alexander. I'm a voice actor from Florida, and I like to wrestle gators. I like to get out there, just get into the swamps, wear my swamp boots made of the gators I wrestle. I grab them, I flip them around, I slam them into the ground, and sometimes I roll dice on my gator skin table.
I'm Logan Laidlaw. I crave lobsters. Snap, snap.
Snap, snap. But I do crave lobsters. You said it truthfully.
True.
Which means that if you've said it truthfully,
Aw, shit.
we're both saying true
One of us
things.
tells the truth, and the other one always lies.
Yeah.
Or it means all the things said were true, which means that you do all the things I said.
I have a lovely. Listen, you got to see my my gator dice
Are you
tray.
two okay?
No, we shared the brain cell for too dang long. I'm Braden Alexander. I'm a Florida-based voice actor. Hello, I play Fenris Selberon, and I'm joined by our wonderful DM.
Who else do you play? You play other
Oh
characters.
yeah, Maxine Eileen, the Mauler,
Yeah.
and Jolene Felicity Brioche, the third.
Maxine Eileen and Jolene Foline.
Jolene Foline.
I'm happy with this energy. What do you
Hi.
do, Logan? Who are you?
Hi, I'm
Yeah.
Logan. I'm an author of TTRPG content, the creative director of Nat 19, the voice actor and creative director and writer and director and writer behind Project Mouthwash. I am the DM of the Vestige of a Fucus and DMS games, and I'm the player of Ajisai Kuroyori in Princes of the Apocalypse. And also, I'm a writer of things on different channels where I write and direct the directing and writing.
And you played Hadrick that one time.
I did. I probably don't have time to list all the D&D characters I've
Yeah.
ever played and all the games I've ever run.
That's fair.
Hadrick Canewind in the Curse of Strahd game, and also Veneer in Tomb of Annihilation, and also there was a lot of other characters in Tomb of
Veloci.
Annihilation. Veloci in Tomb of Annihilation, and Glenn in Tomb of Annihilation, and then Veloci again in Tomb of Annihilation, and the lady in Tomb of Annihilation.
Bad man backs.
And oh, Bad Baxter!
Oh, bad man backs.
Bad man.
And I'm currently playing Ajisai Kuroyori, Hadrick Canewind, and Obad Baxter, all at the same time in Princes of the Apocalypse. I'm just playing them a bit differently than you normally play the characters. That's all.
None don't even get to play. Okay.
You don't know that. Anyway, so we have some special questions for you. I got questions for both of y'all. We didn't have any duo questions this time, so we'll just be going back and forth, and I'll just be rolling a little die. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, I have this dice tray that you can get on nat19show.com/shop. I'm going to be rolling some dice. I'm going to roll a d4 to find out who we will be asking a question to, and then I will roll a d10 to determine which question we're going to ask. And if it's anything like last session, I'm going to roll the same number about 4 times in a row before I get to a new question, because that is how the dice do sometimes.
This is the first time I'm doing one of these with somebody else here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You've got an audience now, broski.
Oh, are you my audience?
Is
Is that why you're here?
No, I'm your peer. I'm your peer. Fear me. I'm your peer.
Oh, I'll
Fear
you.
me, I'm your fear.
I was thinking that.
Questions.
All right, yeah. Okay, it's for Logan.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, number 9. Oh, speaking of backs, is there anything about what Baxter's been doing that you're willing to tell us about? Doesn't matter
Nope.
if it just leaves us with more questions.
Nope.
Cool. Got it in one.
Good
Thanks,
question.
man.
I am entirely not willing to talk about what Obad Baxter's doing off in the background. Anything I can tell you is to look at what's been going on and to make wild assumptions. Every time you've heard him, think about what he could be doing. Who's he with? Is that person Hadrick because they sound like Hadrick, or do they sound like Hadrick because they're me? Who's to say?
Does even Aaron know at this point? Have you
does
disclosed?
not.
Oh, it's like, have you disclosed?
Aaron has
his
no clue.
Oh, that's beautiful.
He has to simply accept whatever happens.
He's
True
good
poetry.
about that.
Yeah.
I've done this to multiple GMs. Similarly, when the lady showed up in Tomb of Annihilation,
Yeah.
I repeatedly told Spencer I was not going to tell him where she came from or what her backstory was. And at one point, he made a passing comment about, like, if the tomb if she died here, then it would take her soul. And I was like, no, it wouldn't. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, don't worry about it, but it wouldn't, though. He was like, you need to tell me. I was like, I don't, though. It just wouldn't.
Wow.
That's amazing. Heckin'. I'm gonna roll again. I'm gonna ask you another question.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. It almost rolled a 9 again. I need you to know that thing I said about it rolling the same number multiple times in a row was a true thing. Okay. Hopefully you can give us a little more juice on this one. I know the answer to this, and I think Braden does as well, but this is an audience question. What is the history of Gregelgagor as a concept and/or character?
I think I've talked about this on a chat 19, I think, but it's always fun to go into it. So, Gregelgagor, much like the Mordenkainens and Elminsters of the Forgotten Realms setting, Gregelgagor has a strong origin in being a character that I played at one point, except, I'm going to actually move my microphone here for a second. Hopefully that shouldn't, okay, cool. He didn't start as Gregelgagor. He started as funny enough, a character named Quinn in a table game that Aaron ran a long time ago, and he was a chaos sorcerer, and the whole gimmick with him reincarnating the way he does at the table, it began because we were fighting some skeletons. We were doing Lost Mines of Phandelver. We didn't end up finishing the game, but we got to like what were they called? The Red Brands or whatever? They're the bandits. We got to the bandit place. And we broke in, fought some skeletons, and I did a chaos surge, and it was like, if you die in the next minute, you are subjected to the reincarnate spell. And I was like, well, then I guess I better die to make use of this. And I charged some things that I shouldn't have, got killed, got brought back. And then Quinn lived in my head for a long time, and as I was building Somnus Domina, because this was in the, I think, 8 years or so that I've been building chunks of the setting, he just found himself sort of securing a place in the setting, and I got onto this idea of what if this was something that would always happen? What if chaos magic was joined into him? He was suffused with it in such a way that anytime he died, he would always reincarnate. It's kind of like, the Doctor from Doctor Who, except forever. And it was totally random, and that every time it happened, certain small parts of his personality might change. And what if it happened on such a grand time scale, and so many times that he eventually started to misremember bits about who he is? And the idea is that, like, his name would have slowly changed over time. Like, it would have gone from Quinn to like Quinnell to the K sound remaining there, which is why there's so many Gs in his name. And over time it would just be like, I don't know, I'm Greg, I'm Gregeg, I'm Gregeg. Like, it would just be that sort of mishmash of the G sound over and over. And eventually he lived so long and lived so many lives that who he originally was ceased to be. It no longer occurred to him, and he embraced this idea that every time he reincarnates, he comes back as a different person, and he's immortal, and he's a sorcerer, and he's been exposed to so much chaotic magic that he's beyond caring about, like, what is right and wrong to do with magic, which is also why in Somnus Domina he may or may not have been the reason that the old world was wiped out. He may have been the reason the apocalypse happened. But
Maybe
and
should
then
stay
and
in
then
the
he may have
academy.
then he was like, I should probably help fix this a little bit. So he stuck around and helped the world get back on its feet, kinda. You can find out actually quite a bit about him under the title "The Man with Chaos" in the setting guide coming up. The timeline that's in there actually features a lot of information about his involvement in
Yeah.
stuff. So whenever our book comes out, he is mentioned a lot in the timeline's early days. But yeah,
Bonus Greg content.
so he's just stuck. He just became this idea in my head of like, what if there was a sorcerer that had to reincarnate permanently, and that's where he is, and he can kind of be anywhere in any game, and he can kind of be anyone at any time. Like if you play a game that is like even a few years removed from another and I'm in it, there's a chance that a character in it's Grgelgagor and he's just being someone else because he tripped and hit his head real hard
terrifying
and he had to
thought.
reincarnate. And I had him invade one of Spencer's games one time because we made a bet, and when he was running the Schmucks game, we made a bet. I won the bet, and the bet stated that I could enter his games at any time I wished. And so one time they were streaming, I jumped in and I created a character sheet in Fantasy Ground and built Grgelgagor and had him harassing the party.
This is the iteration I'm familiar with. This is the one that, like, when I was like, holy shit, I recognize. This is what I was talking about.
And then I decided to stay in that game, and Spencer said that was okay, but the game only lasted a few more sessions before it sort of just stopped. But he was there, and to totally honest, him having a T-Rex dog thing originated specifically from that stream, because the idea that I wanted to give him something to focus on that would be like fun as a character, and it was someone stole his T-Rex dog's T-Rex egg, and he needs to get it back. And ever since then, I've been part of his lore. Is Grgelgagor has a pet T-Rex that acts like a dog that he frequently true polymorphs into other animals to be other things. For like a dragon when you guys met him, and like other times he's been like a whale. And other times he's been like a hippo. But he's always secretly a T-Rex that thinks it's a dog.
That's amazing. And
I
I love it.
There's so many layers to that, because dragons can, like, polymorph. But no. It's Greg.
Yep. It's Greg.
No, it's Greg.
And it's a T-Rex. No, it's just Greg. I can't believe it's just Greg! I can't believe it's Greg!
My favorite thing is that, like, Grgelgagor is just whimsy, and I adore it. It's just the whimsy of your brain.
Yep.
His proximity to Fenris brings me joy.
He is one of the few characters in my setting who is not affected by the cultural removal of most information about anything that happened over like 1500 years ago. And he knows basically all of history. So he is one of the only characters who, when you guys are around, he basically knows the answer to every single question that can be asked to him, but he doesn't really care to inform anybody of what like those answers are. He more or less just wants to mutter out loud about what's going on. If he thinks he knows something, he won't give an answer. It'll be more like fucking, oh my god, for fuck's, yeah, now, okay, and then saunter off. Like, he exists to be a incredibly non-helpful reservoir.
We've noticed. We've noticed.
He takes for granted that everyone else should know as much as he does. Because why wouldn't they?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it so much.
He's very much like in that wonderful tradition of most D&D worlds have like a character that is sort of like an iteration of the GM's, like a past character of theirs, usually a mage. He's very much the Mordenkainen or the Elminster of Somnus Domina.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah. I love it. I love Greg.
What a good guy.
And we're gonna ask another question.
Yeah!
Okay, it's for Braden. Y'all. Okay.
Braden,
all right.
can you tell us about Grgelgagor?
Wow.
It was almost a Grgelgagor question, and now I'm tempted to, you know what? I'm just gonna ask that question anyway because it's fun. Hey, Fenris. What's your
up?
personal opinion? Thank you. That tickled me. Fenris, what's your personal opinion about what Grigelgagor meant when he said you've forgotten? How you feeling about that, bub? What's your opinion on that? Tell me words. I'm gonna sip my coffee.
It's really annoying. I think, if anything, Greg is just, like, the most annoying thing to Fenris, because it's something she cannot remember, because she literally cannot remember it, because there's no memory. It's like, there's, and so she doesn't understand what he's talking about, but desperately wants to, and the answer is so close. It's like, okay, not to make all the Doctor Who references, but you know,
let's go.
The episode that's like, the corner that you can't see?
Oh, the perception filter.
Yee.
Yeah. It's like he always is vaguely bringing things up, and it's always just the thing that's eluding her. And especially with, the Pale Lady stuff and what's going on with Fenris. He's very vague about it, and she's kind of grasping at straws with it. But at the same time, she's delighted by how just purely magical he is as well, because he is kind of what she sees in Miriam as well, as like the chaotic side of magic.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yes, good. And so when he's locked up in the academy, she's like, oh no, we got to get him out of there so he can answer my goddamn questions that he probably won't anyway! Ah!
I mean, I feel like she's
we're gonna break him out, and then he's gonna teach Miriam Adamantine magic for no reason!
How bad would that be? You eventually get to him and you break him out, and you're just like, all right, time for you to answer our questions. He's like, oh, what? Man, that was a long time ago for me. I don't know what you're talking about. I've forgotten.
Fenric? Is that you?
Yeah, there's also like, ooh, I'm gonna make him. I want him to remember my name the next time a little bit, and also just exasperation. He's
Fenric,
a little bit.
Fenris. Renric, Fenris. Ben.
He's a little bit like the grandpa that, like, never is going to get... I have one of those in my life. I have a teacher who just will never get my name right. He's like, Brandon, Brandy. And I'm like, nope, still not it, professor. I've known him for, like, 5 years, but that's very much the relationship.
Grigelgagor, that's you! Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Oh, Grigelgagor. Oh, gods. But very frustrating, but also very intriguing. I think she just wants to shake him a little bit.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's
a
little bit.
Who wouldn't?
Hell yeah. Shake him down. Like I'm gonna shake this dice to find out in the next question. Pya!
You have all the
Logan.
answers.
Oh, it's for Logan. All right.
It's for Logan. You can't keep rolling nines! We've answered that question!
So Grigelgagor is a character that I began playing with in a game around my hair.
Alright. Ooh, okay. I like this question, because I'm also curious about it. For Logan, why did you choose the particular mythical items/creatures that each DGR is named after? What is your process for naming different NPCs, locations, events? So, answer the DGR. It's technically 2 questions in one. But, you know, DGR
What are your naming conventions?
But what was the one I'm most interested in is, why did you choose the particular mythical items?
I don't think they're named after creatures.
It's more mythical items, but it was like mythical items/creatures, and I just
they're all based off of mythical, like, legendary items from real world mythology from various cultures. The reasons I picked them were because they evoke, the mechanical reason, the meta narrative reason is they evoke a response in players when they hear them that kind of gives them an immediate idea of like, oh, this is like this. But a lot of them are things people don't know. Like most people probably don't know what Sagitta is, and most people probably don't have an immediate understanding of what Kavasha is. But for the most part, I chose those names because there is a... Oh, this is going to go down a rabbit hole. So it comes back to Gregelgagor.
Let's go!
So Gregelgagor was involved in the creation of the Sword of Damocles. That he like got a vision from an otherworldly source of what it could be. He effectively like how do I put this without being like, okay, now we have to talk about this. In the beginning of time, Gregelgagor saw visions of a strange world beyond our own, and he got really fascinated with it, and he tried to pull chunks of it into this one. And long story short, that's what caused the world to be the way it is, why the kind of apocalypse happened. But part of that is he saw a bunch of things from other worlds, and one of them was the general idea of the Sword of Damocles. And when the time came to try to build a super weapon to fight the Grand Primaries, he contributed the concept of like, we should aim for making something like this. And he's crazy enough to have made it work with all the people that worked around him. When later they had to build the DGR units, he also had a general oversight in that. And the vague idea is that he pulled the names and ideas and concepts that they would follow from other worlds, gave those ideas to the frame build, and the frame build were like, yeah, we can run with that. So they don't know what an Excalibur is, and they don't know what Kusanagi is, and they don't know like what Kavasha is or Hydral. Actually, Hydral's a bit of an outlier. Hydral's one of the only ones that doesn't actually mean anything. They're kind of one of many references to that Insomnis Domina. If you go back to really old stuff, there's some, as much as I don't like having things fall back on multiversal stuff, there's some like multiversal aspects to that early age stuff was like pulling inspiration from these weird visions that Gregelgagor was having, and they were trying to actualize them. And the DGRs follow that general idea. Like you might be willing to believe that maybe Greg saw into our world and our history, or into worlds that reflect the mythologies of different they reflect our mythologies. Like maybe there is a world where King Arthur and Artorias and whatnot, maybe that happened, and maybe he saw into that world and saw a sword called Excalibur and decided that needed to be a big robot. Who's to say? But in universe, the reason is Greg had visions of these things and they adhered to them. Out of universe, it's because those names evoke feelings in people that know them. And it's kind of just a cool naming scheme. I know originally people thought that they were all going to be swords. They're not. There's one exception to this. The Sword of Damocles is not named based on that. The Sword of Damocles actually is named the Sword of Damocles for a reason in universe. It's just a reason that happens to make it coincide with, the myth of the Sword of Damocles, the threat that is always looming overhead. The reason being the obvious parallel that the Sword of Damocles existing is that it is a thing that if it ever wakes up, it's disastrous. It is the Sword of Damocles hanging over the heads of the Eidolons and whatnot. But it's there is an in-universe reason for why it's called the Sword of Damocles. I do not wish to go into it here, and I may never go into it.
Oh,
ooh,
zesty.
Not even post Sword of Damocles.
Maybe. Who's to say? I think I'm gonna pull a Remedy storytelling thing and be like, fucking Door? Yeah, Door's pretty cool, right? It'd be cool if we found out more about Door from Alan Wake 2. Too bad he's gonna fuck off and be this multi-dimensional being elsewhere. So nope. Fucking sometimes it's nice, in my opinion, when it's stuff that doesn't matter, sometimes it's nice to be able to think about what things might be and not have a necessary
what they
answer.
are, definitely.
As long as, sorry to cut you off, just to finish the thought. As long as the storyteller has an answer and can like adhere to the answer, I think it's nice sometimes to let people think about things. I hate it when people are like, ooh, isn't this a mysterious thing? And there is no answer. They just have an unexplained thing and they're like, think about it. What could it be? I hate that.
Like the question box or whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I like it when something exists in a way that the writer definitely knows what it is, so that there can be specificity to look at it and prod it. But there's a mystery to it. But there's enough information that it's like there is a structure here. It's not just, why is there a fucking 8-armed, 2-headed brass dragon with one head that's missing, and the DM's like, oh man, who's to know, and why is it named the same as your character? And they don't have an idea, they just want to make you think. I hate that kind of thing. But
Yeah,
if it's
I
like,
agree.
I like it when things clearly have structure and they're a mystery, and that's the sort of thing I like to go. Very Dark Souls. I like to go like the Dark Souls style sometimes of storytelling, of being like, here's some context. It's enough that you know that I have some thoughts. Make up the rest. You'll have more fun than if you listen to me explain it.
That's fair. And I'm like, I kind of love stuff like that, especially because I am such a lore junkie, and I love thinking about, like, okay, how does the world work? Stuff like that. So I'm like, I'm a fan of that kind of storytelling.
Yeah.
It's fun. I like storytelling that makes you think. But that's cool. Again, yeah.
If something's important, you definitely should explain it.
Yes.
But if something is only interesting, then sometimes it is good to have gaps in knowledge.
Agreed. Thank you for
Nom,
your
nom, nom, nom,
wonderful answer. Gonna roll the dash. Yeah. Okay.
Gonna
okay,
roll
okay.
the dice.
E for Bradley Boo.
Let's go.
Let's go. Okay. Number 7. What up, Maxine? We got a question for Maxine now.
Oh my god, a Maxine question.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
My
Okay.
Maxine.
All right, Miss Eileen. How's Maxine feeling now that she's no longer attuned to Iron Fang? Anything in particular on her mind now that it's less clouded?
I think Maxine's realizing that some of her tendencies are a bit more destructive. Because the whole weapons affliction was the flaw that she likes to destroy things. And some of those things are just things that she truly does like to destroy. And other things are perhaps self-sabotage. And I won't give up too much because I think it might come up in sessions soon. But I think there's some...
It just sort
trying
of made
to be
her...
more proactive.
Yeah. Did it kind of like make her realize stuff about herself? It's like, oh, that was just in there.
It's like Maxine's learning yes and instead of no.
That's fair.
She's like, oh, things can be not what we decide they are. We don't have to choose to shut down, and we can be more than that.
That's cool. I love Max. I make no secret of that, but I'm like, I'm enjoying watching her come out the other side of it. And I love Max. Max was very fun last session. I know it was like big fight session, but I enjoy Max, and I enjoyed Devin's reactions to Maxine being Maxine. It was a treasure.
I really am enjoying some of Maxine's, like, just, how do I put this? Sometimes when she messes up and she's like, "Oh man, you were watching," just, I get a kick out of that because as a performer, like, when you mess up on stage, sometimes you're like, "No, I didn't." And to play a character that's kind of embarrassed by that type of stuff is actually quite fun. I was almost upset about it for a minute to be like, oh, my character's self-conscious, but I think I'm like, no, my character's self-conscious!
Like, no, I'm gonna lean into that. Hell yeah. No, I think that's really cute, especially because she was, like, a gladiator. So, like, technically, Maxine is kind of a performer in a way. So I love that she has, like, that self-consciousness of a performer. I think that's really fun, especially with her, like, having this big brash energy. I really like that.
I like to imagine her, like, biffing it and then yelling at the crowd, like, shut up! Stop laughing!
Aw.
I'm gonna rip this guy's head off now.
Big Peter Pan, but everything goes wrong energy. I know he's there. I'm the director. I told him to be there. You have to let me find him.
Very that. Ah, Maxine's just a victim of the dice. I love the dice, but damn, sometimes they betray me when I'm trying to do a cool thing, which is like the gift of D&D.
Yeah. D&D's, strongly rooted, especially there's D&D and then there's performative D&D, like doing a show, and there's a difference and there's not a difference, but where you should consider the difference is it's like improv, and critically improv involves failing with grace. That is the most important thing that you can do. So like anytime something doesn't go your way and your impulse is to be like, I'm sad about that, you do kind of have to be like, if I want this to be entertaining and fun for everybody, I have to find something about it that I run with. Like,
yeah,
and that can mean I can make it into a... Sorry, you go ahead.
Nope. Sometimes you can find like a second wind in that and find something that's way more fun than anything you could have thought of on your own, running with that thing.
Yeah. The main thing is not to stew in things, not to hit a point where like your disappointment becomes a mechanical issue. In the same way that if you're doing live improv, the main thing is to make sure that if something doesn't land or if something doesn't go the way you want, you kind of just have to grin and bear it and find a way to turn it into the next thing and not be married to any certain outcome. And most people do that pretty well.
No, I love it. It's so good.
That's
so
very
good.
true for improv.
Yep.
Yeah, it's an important lesson to learn.
It's
Gotta
being
keep
a
the
good
happy
scene
bubble.
partner. It's like not everything you say is going to be the best thing in the gosh darn universe.
Yeah, another really important part of it is like just using the improv allegory is in improv, there's always this idea that you're probably going to have 1 to 4 other performers on stage with you at any given time in any given scene. You need to be comfortable enough to fail and trust that somebody else is going to either drag attention away from you or give you something that will save you, with the knowledge that someday you will do the same for them. That's the idea of like, heckin' make your scene partners look good. Don't worry about looking good. And if everybody does that, everybody's making everybody look good. And but it falls apart if one person becomes like an energy sink, or if one person is like not having fun and declaratively makes it clear they're not having fun. Like, even when you're not rolling well, even when you're down, even when you're dying, even when stuff's not going your way, you have to kind of be like, no, I'm not going to project that I'm not having fun. I'm going to find something. And everybody has things they take a little bit harder, but not having fun doesn't mean being happy necessarily. Sometimes
it can be being devastated.
Stuff can be sad. But like, I guess in D&D it's less fun and more never be uninvested. Always show that you're interested in what's happening. If you're down in Vestige, I trust that with you guys, if you're down and your character's dying, I trust that you guys are still invested in what everybody else is gonna do, and you're not just going to turn off. Sorry, I hijacked the question to talk about improv.
No, I mean it's
kind of the
good
direction it went.
Yeah, and heckin' what we do is mainly tied in improv, so it's always a good thing to talk about.
That's the entertainment part of what we do. There's the 3 main aspects of what we do are playing D&D, which is the least important of the 3 things that we do when we're playing D&D. Is the playing D&D part. We are having fun with our friends. We are just in a group doing what we find fun, and we are performing. And the performing part involves ignoring the fact that we're performing, but making sure that we keep a bubble up that allows people to enjoy what we're doing. I think with any of us, the moment we start trying to entertain people at home, we failed. But we need to keep a bubble of inclusion that lets people watch what we're doing and it like attach to something. that's what makes a D&D show, in my opinion, work, is like being able to have that aura of there is a bubble here, we're inside of it, we are engaging with with how invested these people are. It's not necessarily about being good actors. It's not necessarily about doing big dramatic things. It's not necessarily about being funny. It's about all of these things together. The main thing is that if people can care because we care, and so it's important that we care. And then also, it's important that we're having fun with each other. And some people think that it's important that we're playing D&D, but ironically, it really isn't.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's just the structure that lets us imagine upon it.
Yeah. It's like,
It's
I
a
find
very
it
cool
very
structure.
important. I find it very important that we're playing D&D, but I'm the game master. I have to make sure that foundation's there.
Yeah,
It's true. You have to.
Yeah.
Because you have to make all the bells and whistles go while we
Yep.
play.
In
Are we
theory,
like,
we should be... In theory, in a perfect world, we should be able to, like, do exactly what we do, but just in a storytelling medium of, like, we should be able to have, like, a campfire, like, go around, okay, we're just gonna pretend to be characters, what do we do? D&D just makes it really easy by delineating
Mhm.
what's possible. Like, that's, as far as, like, people engaging with it goes, I think that's what D&D does for a D&D stream. It creates the rules everybody has to play by to allow them to tell stories without having to constantly justify what works and what doesn't.
Oh yeah, exactly. Honestly, it gives us just like a really good foundation to build off of, and
Yeah.
having world rules is great. I watch a lot of fucking video essays. It just made me think of this about like hard magic rules and like soft magic systems and things like that, and it's like how different rules of the world kind of dictate how the world is perceived and sort of digested by viewers. So it kind of falls into that same aspect to me, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Totally.
hell yeah. I love it. Okay, I love what we do. But I appreciate your answer, Bradley Boo, and then us talking about all the other
Anytime.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Clementine.
Good
Wow.
roll. Good heckin' improv question. Or
Okay,
good improv discussion. Excuse me.
I mean, it's what we do. I got a question for Logan.
Yeah, what's up?
I'm gonna roll to see which question it is. If it's another 9, I'll fight my dice. Okay. It's a 10. Like you guys. Hey.
Hey.
Okay. Okay. I guess this is what we're asking. It's a question about Diane, or to Diane, technically.
If there's ever going to be a Diane question, it's
Right?
going to be on this particular Wits and Crits.
There's a lot of
For Diane to know. Ah.
There's a couple Diane questions for each of y'all, so.
Oh.
Mhm.
Oh shit.
Spoilers.
Okay.
We'll see if the dice say that we're gonna ask them or not. But okay, to Diane, your relationship with Edragan, despite the abuse of his trust, on the whole, pretty I speak words for money. That's today, I guess. Despite the abuse of his trust, on the whole, you had a pretty good relationship and you held him in seemingly high esteem. Was it purely platonic and business, or did you eventually hope for it to grow into something more romantic? Would you have been honest with him about your true occupation without Quintus's interference eventually?
I'm going to selectively answer that because
go for it.
Regardless of the format of the show, I don't really care to talk about things that might be relevant in future situations. I'm only really comfortable talking about a character's like proper thoughts and whatnot once the character's been like put to bed.
Yeah.
So like they're still in motion. However, the question of like would they eventually have told them what they do? I mean, it's unlikely because so Diane, I'm going to use this question as a springboard to talk about something entirely different about Diane.
That's fine.
Diane, much like Fenris, grew up during the age of the Pulvarian Accords. They I think they're actually close to the same age, if I recall. But Diane is, I would have said half elf if the setting guide hadn't removed that from my vocabulary. They are of human and elven descent, so it'd be fair to call them a half elf, which puts them under a certain type of scrutiny. It hasn't come up in game, but they lost family to issues of the Palvarian Accords, but it wasn't from outside forces, it was from internal stuff in their family. They grew up in the same sort of hardships that Fenris did, and they became part of the family related to that. And that is all to set the stage for the fact that there is a reason why they are helping Edragan, someone who wants to make life for druidic races better, and his entire foundation is him wanting to become High Lord so that he can make things like the Common District better, and he can improve the status quo in Summergrass. There is a reason that she uses family resources to elevate him. Because she also wants people to have better lives in that regard, because she's also been struggling with discrimination her entire life. And she, by the time the party met her, she was of a status where that no longer touched her as much, but she did live through it. In the same sense that by the time we met Fenris's status as a cleric has effectively removed them from offhanded social discrimination, but it doesn't mean that culturally it's fixed. It means that their situation is shielding them from it. It's the same with Diane. So her involvement with Edragan, she's very much drawn to his drive to make things better, and she's been using the family as a resource to using his business to help her business, like, and make the family more lucrative, but also using the family to prop him up so that he could be an avatar for change in the city. And the reason that she wanted him to be High Lord is so she could have access to the influence that would come with being secretary to the High Lord, because that would help with being able to dismiss certain problems if they came up. But she genuinely wants him to succeed because she believes in him. Given that, to ever tell him what she's doing would be to tear down everything he's built. So, out of respect for wanting him to succeed, she would absolutely never, ever in a million years have told him what was propping him up. Unfortunately, because it would destroy everything that he had built. And it did. And as soon as Quintus asked him to, she did what Quintus asked. She approached him and she was like, are you able to accept this? And spoiler tag, he was like, I'm not. And she was like, well, then the situation's gotta take a dramatic turn. Full disclosure, she would probably have gone on to try to continue Edragan's legacy if she had become High Lord, but she never wanted to be. As we've talked about internally, everything after having to abduct Edragan was her just trying to survive after being backed into a corner. Because there's no way she could let Edragan tell anyone who she was. She'd be A, a criminal, and B, thrown in jail, and C, killed. But also the party was never going to be like, oh, you've captured and removed Edragan? Yes, we're cool with that. Like, there was no version of that situation where she could find anyone who wouldn't out her, so she had to go to the most extreme version of it. But yeah, probably never. I can't imagine a situation that she ever would have destroyed his identity as someone trying to make things better by doing that. She would have thought it'd be cruel. Whether or not it's cruel, personal interpretation, I guess, but she would consider it cruel to tell him.
Honestly, I can kind of, like, looking at it from, like, my perspective, but also, like, if I were to put on my Avi cap, I was like, nah, she'd be in agreement.
Yep.
No, I'm like, honestly, looking at Diane, I'm like, I cannot blame her for a lot of things. Like, yeah, done shitty stuff to survive, yeah. But also, I'm like, who am I to judge? I play a character much the same.
I think Diane is a great exercise in perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, the party frequently does things that are bad and wrong, to get ahead, but because the end result is, in the party's opinion, generally the embetterment of people around them, it's okay. Like criminal activities, following people home in Honokuni and maybe murdering them, doing kind of not cool things, living your life as a thief. Some of the party members, like Raleigh, like people love Raleigh. Raleigh straight up wanted to become Diane, like to take their position. Like that was their goal before everything went awry, and they didn't make a moral decision to stop chasing that. They had to, because they got possessed and everything went wrong. They straight up wanted to be a godchild like Diane. It was their dream. But people are like, oh, he's just a silly little muffin. He's a good little guy. And it's like, the difference here is that, like, she's doing good with her position in a way, along with a lot of bad. So it's like the perspective of, yeah, but the party's trying to get better. It's like, well, I mean, we see things from the viewpoint of our party. And that's not to say the party is wrong. It's to say that I suppose I run characters applying the same gray filter to NPCs and the politics of the world that one would normally reserve for the party. And Diane was doing a lot of social good. And there's a lot of people in Vestige who you could argue are doing bad things. Scandal's currently a High Lord. And remove their intentions from that, given their track record of things they've done. That is a worrying fact.
Mm-hmm.
But the party understands it because it sort of aligns with their own goals, so it's okay. The fact that there are 2 dragons in government, which sounds like a joke about the Illuminati. No, everyone's like, yeah, but they're nice dragons. They helped us. They helped us rig the election. It's like, yeah, man. You got the outcome you wanted. Sure.
I think sometimes there are lesser evils. Like, sometimes it's like, okay, the Tenebros did not invade Summergrass and do terrible things. Maybe it's fine there are 2 dragons in Parliament.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Largely my point is that people are, because Diane's been our antagonist, people really focus on this, like, yeah, but Diane did this stuff, and it's like, yes, and there's government rigging dragons still in power in the Merchant Lords. The only difference there is that, like, literally, and I actually think it's a thing that is neat about Summergrass, is that it is held together by people that it would normally turn its nose up at.
Mm-hmm.
That is an aspect of Summergrass I love. The overall point there is that, like, there's an arms dealer, 2 dragons, a shape-shifting fox woman that was previously aligned with the bandit lord trying to overthrow the city. Until recently, one of them was like, you know, Margaret wasn't a criminal, but Margaret was no good.
Margaret was Margaret.
And Vincent was funding a bandit lord. Like, the merchant lords were all pretty not okay, and you can choose to take issue with them if you want to. But as with most aristocratic governments, is this turning out well for the people is really the issue that needs to be interrogated.
Mm-hmm.
And currently, the dragon and fox woman run government is serving Summergrass better than previous governments have. And
we will take it. Thank you very much.
If Diane had ended up advisor to the High Lord, I will say she probably would have made the city a better place, because it running well and her being in good social graces would have made doing her job for the family easier. So she probably would have invested a lot of energy into making things better, so that if anyone ever came after her, she could be like, I've been nothing but good for this city. Don't pay attention to the underground black markets and such. It's also, you also sort of have to interrogate the fact that her branch of the family basically exists to counteract the Academy's dogmatism towards illegal goods and magic items.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to call that part of the family evil, you have to interrogate where you stand with the Academy, because they exist because the Academy is dogmatic about, like, making certain things illegal. And, you know, it's a web of, like, well, where do you stand on this that I don't expect anyone to think about, but anyways, I've lost the plot here a little bit with what I'm talking about. My point is, Diane is one of many people who has as much junk as they do good on the Merchant Lords. The difference is that Quinn said do better at a critical time where it gained nothing for the highest standard. despite the fact that they were at that time allied with an interplanar arms dealer and government rigging dragons. I've been particularly impassioned just because we've been talking so much about this lately, both on the Discord and whatnot, because it's the topic of right now. For those at home listening in the future, we're currently doing this between episodes 159 and 160 of Vestige. So that's where this is.
Because
oh my god, we're almost to 169.
Someone was just like, hey, can we end campaign 1 on 169? I'm like, you know what, I'd be into that.
Wow.
I saw on like the ProVow Discord. But like you mentioned like the dragons and things like that. I recently, because I was going in to take notes about oh god, I love her. But I was listening to I think it's like 66. It's like Scandal in Summergrass or whatever. I only remember the name and like the episode number because I was just listening to it because I was like getting more detailed notes on like Muldoon so I could remember what High Lord Morian had, or Lord Morian now, had said to Avi. And it was like, hey, why did you give me, of all people, like Avi asked him, it's like, why did you give me the fucking, like, why me for Fox Victoria? I was like, bro, why'd you give these two, like, one of the most well-known criminals in Summergrass? Why, dude? And he's like, yeah, this totally legitimate High Lord. Yup. I'm super legit. We're all he said something that like stuck with me. It's like, we're all criminals, Aviana. And I was like, fuck. I mean, you right. You right. And I'm like, damn, okay. That it just kind of, that's why I like going back and listening to stuff sometimes, or like going back, like, I want to revisit this, just, and it always like reignites some perspective in my brain. And also, we've been through so many episodes, I find it helpful.
Yeah. Because
everything gets muddy and I can only take notes so fast. But I just find that comment interesting. And I was like, yeah, that puts into perspective like everything with the highest standard too. I'm like, we're not like lawful good people. We come from all over and everything is so gray. It's so muddy and gray sometimes that it's hard to see like past, like sometimes I think it's hard for the party to see past themselves a little bit. Because we have people from like all walks of life. It's like we accept each other, but this person's doing bad, so bad man. I'm like, okay, but sometimes we're the baddies, and we need to accept this fact.
Sometimes there's sometimes there's a bit of a. Sorry, Braden. You go ahead.
It's gone. It's okay. Go on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
There's a bit of like a event horizon point with some characters because I like building like there's lots of bad guys. Fucking Carrie recently was joking with me about being like, sometimes we just want someone to be evil, Logan, and I was like, you guys fight people who are just bad all the time. You just evidently don't remember them as much, which speaks to the reason why I think the morally gray ones are more interesting. I was like, fucking Tenebros, just absolutely bad. Basically, all of the members of the Table of Senrai, when you fought them, absolutely bad. Hirohito, he is a great example of what I was about to talk about with Moral Event Horizons, where I, as Logan, can trace the path that he took going from a guy who wanted to train with his master to someone whose master drunkenly abused him, so he one day, like, retaliated and killed him by accident. Eventually found a place he liked living with a kid that seemed to like him, and then fate twisted the knife and put him in a situation where that kid was put in danger, and he was like, you know what, no, I'm gonna make life better for him, and went to war to put Samurai back on his throne, and then just didn't know when to stop, and eventually became a bad person for originally good reasons, because he became addicted to the quiet power that he had acquired. I wouldn't ever say, like, oh, Hirohito was like, you could have talked him down. You couldn't. He was a bad person by the end. However, a lot of bad people become bad because they're trying to be good and won't be allowed to in a way that makes sense. Sometimes terrible misfortune can make good intentions into something ugly and corrupt. And that's, like, what happened with him. And, like, but Diane is, like, this middle-of-the-road thing where I'm like, This is a woman who broke off her connections to Murkwire and the Bandit Lord once they were unable to get the research to help the other Godchild. This is someone who not only killed the person who sold or tried to sell Winchester, but returned Winchester, gave you guys a house, gave you guys intel. I'm like, they actually helped you guys more than fucking anyone. So it's really interesting that Quinn was like, how about you do the right thing for no reason? And she was like, oh, I should die? Uh-oh. So she's like very much a character. I'm like, I don't know. If the theme of Vestige, if Vestige is filled with morally gray characters, I'm kind of overjoyed to end it on someone who is so, in my opinion, middle of the road that it's like, I don't know, feel bad about this. You guys put her here. You'd be justified to kill her. I don't care as the GM.
I didn't do anything. I wasn't there yet.
Yeah, it's like, it's interesting that people are like, oh, but she's with the family. It's like, do you remember when Avi went to a family fence and they were like familiar with each other? And like, the
like
fact that the reason you guys,
the
fact that the reason you guys know where Diane's going is because a family member that Aviana knew gave them intel. Like, fucking Avi's worked for the family. If that association's all it takes. Yeah.
Yup.
It's like no one makes Lexi feel bad for the fact that they spent 80 years of their life as part of the family without thinking anything was wrong with that. Lexi left because Lexi started to wonder what freedom was like and because their best friend disappeared. If Kevin hadn't disappeared, I think it's strongly inferred that Lexi would have been perfectly comfortable being part of the family. Raleigh, full stop. My throat. Blah, 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 blah. Like, it's, Diane reflects a lot of the party and the party's stories, and, I am actually really happy that these questions came up at this exact point, because it would have almost been a missed opportunity if they had just passed by. Oh, I'm a bit overbearing today. I apologize. I'm talking so much.
It's okay.
No, it's all good. It's juice.
I'm getting juice. I'm sitting here just, I'm eating this up because I've been like I'll be fully candid. I've been brain rotting at Alejandro like since last game. Be like, okay, babe, so I know you don't know as much about Vestige, but you know everything just through me. And I've just been like, dude, so I've been thinking about this and this and this and pulling on different plot threads and thinking about how Avi is so much. Ooh, she's a hypocrite sometimes, and I love it. It's great. It's great.
Yay!
But I've just been brain rotting about like Diane stuff. He's like, fuck, dude. I was like, I know, right? It's great. But what's also great is questions.
Yeah.
I somewhere Spencer is going, good transition, Hayden. Well done. Perfect.
Oh,
Perfect.
wow.
Yep. I can feel it. Shut up, Spencer. I love you. As for Braden, yeah. Okay.
Me?
Oh, I think you're gonna like this question. I feel like I'm gonna get a Braden from this
God.
one. So dear Fenris, have you ever thought about how different the Glass Crown tournament would have been if Fume hadn't pulled that last punch on you, especially with how it allowed you to later become its champion? Let's talk about way back. Let's wind back the timeline here. About the Glass Crown. What's up, baby?
Yeah. I mean, I've of course that has occurred to her, but I guess it's a victory through kindness because the reason he pulled the punch was because she helped him when Quintus was kind of being a dick, to put it lightly, and bailed him out of a bad situation. And so, I mean, there's a great amount of appreciation for Fume. What was the question again?
Yep.
In that? Sorry, I feel like I'm listlessly.
Did you just start thinking about Fume and you got distracted?
I'm sure. Maybe.
I love you. Fenris, have you ever thought about how different the Glass Crown tournament would have been if Fume hadn't pulled that last punch on you, especially with how it allowed you to later become its champion?
Yes. I mean, I think the whole thing could have gone completely differently. a lot of it was dependent on dice rolls and stuff like that, but that was just the one. I think that was also a dice roll a little bit as well, because I think, Logan, didn't you roll to see if he would do it? I think you were inclined to.
That sounds like something I'd do, but it was a very long time ago, so I more remember
So
what
maybe.
happened and less remember
I don't
how it
either.
happened. Yeah.
But, heckin', yeah, I mean, it would have changed things completely, because after that, Fenris got very lucky throughout the tournament. Heckin', choosing a great partner in Lexi, having Flint come in and substitute for Tantia, who couldn't be there. The fight with Tantia, that was nail-bitingly close. So there's a lot of thoughts of how the glass crown, excuse me. Sorry, I was thinking about Fume again. How the glass crown could have gone completely differently.
Yeah, there were a lot of factors. The glass crown was so fun. I'm very glad it went the way it did, and I've said this before.
I still can't believe that I did that. I can't.
What? You won the gosh darn tournament, baby.
It's true.
I'm very thankful that Fume pulled that punch, because that really was the sending point of what was just me being very stressed for a good couple of months. That was a trepidatious
time.
Trepidatious time? Yeah, trepidatious time.
Tumultuous.
Tumultuous. There we go. Tumultuous time. Because, it was a fight every time, and Fenris is a very versatile fighter, just in the sense of I've got spells and I've got physical stuff going on. But because she's a cleric, only one attack to work with. / one action. And Tumultudacious. Indeed, it was tumultudacious.
Beholdor.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, even though the sound of it...
Really quite audacious.
Hey! Hell yeah.
It's really old. It's from the Cretaceous. Supercalifragilistic.
Did it?
Yeah,
Perfect.
I did it. I answered the question.
Today's a flawless day of words.
Woo!
I'm so glad I don't have sessions today, dear God.
Yeah, I mean, the whole glass crown was just mind-blowing for me. I kept being like, is this happening? And then it did. And then the lady was like, you're going down. I was like, I'm gonna die. And then I didn't. Somehow.
And then it really is happening.
Uh-huh.
It is happening. Oh, heck yeah. Thank you for your wonderful answer and your wonderful song. I appreciate the musical theater aspect from both of y'all. Yeah.
That's why I got a degree.
It's true. I got a question. I got another one for I almost said for Fenris, for Braden. knowing the list of questions, there was one Maxine. The rest are for Fenris. Spoiler tag.
Makes sense.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. This is just a fun one. Dear Fenris, having been the designated cook for so long, and even working to better your craft after tasting a hero's feast, how do you feel now that Miriam is just able to conjure up a dream banquet via his magnificent mansion?
Nothing's as good as home cooking. It's all nice and fancy and good and well, but it's magic. There's definitely a little bit of stubbornness involved in that. Sure, the mansion can make stew, but is it my stew?
Fenris, just The Office style, just like in the room, just being like, "This is pretty good, but nothing beats home cooking." Takes a bite, cuts to like them looking at the camera and the interview sections. It was though. It was as good as home cooking.
Maybe. I don't know. I think it's a little it is a little intimidating, but at the same time, Fenris, okay, this is going to sound terrible. Fenris knows that this is a commodity that we will not get to enjoy for much longer, because once we leave the cauldron, that spell is super illegal.
It's super illegal. Yeah.
Miriam cannot be casting that as willy-nilly as he has been. It's been fine, because we're in a place where it's fine. But once we get to the other side, he's gonna have to cut that out for a little bit. At least until we're in private. So you guys are gonna need me. Fenris is like, they're gonna need me at some point.
Oh.
That's the good thing. Being the cleric and the cook. They need you at some time. It's either feeding time or they got boo-boos.
And sometimes I feed them to help them get no boo-boos.
Indeed.
You're welcome for your heroes' feasts.
Amen.
We've been very blessed. Also, I just think about, because whenever you cast Hero's Feast, you've been using the ability that lets you pull stuff from different timelines. I'm like, you ever think about the fact that you're just robbing your other selves? And what if that other self needed that? What if they were about to cast Hero's Feast and you fucked them over? And what if in that other timeline, this is how my brain works, what if that other timeline, you killed all of your friends? No! And you fucked them over because you needed it in our timeline.
It's not my
enjoy
timeline.
That.
Yeah, Fenris. What if that's happening?
I genuinely do not know what Fenris's reaction would be to that, but Fenris has, no offense right now, bigger fish to fry in the sense of questions. So where the magic things are coming from is not the first question on her addendum.
I just like
she's more like
dread.
Who am I? Why am I? Why these ladies my aunties vibes? Underlined? Circled?
Why?
Frowny face.
I like to think in Fenris's room in the mansion, there is just, like, a board of just, like, red string, and, like, at the center is just, why?
Just why?
Just, why? Why me? Strings to all the different Valkyries and Grigelgagor and shit. Why Dragon Puppy? Who fucking knows? That just goes nowhere. It's like, I got nothing, I don't know. But hell yeah. Oh, I love Fenny Fufu. And listen, if it makes her feel any better, Avi loves her cooking.
Oh.
Because it's also better than moldy bread. But, you know.
Yeah. A lot of things are... That is... The bar is literally under... Like, on the floor.
Yeah. I mean, Avi's kind of in awe of her, like, and her, like, cooking ability because she's so inept at it. It's like, wow, that is a capable woman right there. I am not that. I stab real good. She is a whole person. It's great.
She's a completed... It's like anytime you, like, see someone who, like, their house is kind of nice, and you go to your friends, and it's like, oh no, my friends are adults. I'm not an adult yet.
Yep.
But then you leave, like, and you don't know the things that they're also, like, a disaster at, and they're like, oh no, my friend that just came over is, like, they're not only an adult, but a functional fun person, and I'm only an adult. Ah! Like, look at the layers of, am I a fully formed person yet? That our generation is plagued with.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's a very mutual feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And that is hilarious.
That's so funny. I love that.
Oh, Fenris and Avi. My god.
Fabi.
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 That's their ship name. Fava Bean.
No. I
Avarice.
refuse.
Avarice.
I don't know.
Avirus?
Avirus?
Fabi.
Fabio. Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, what's
Do
up,
it!
Logan? I rolled a 1. I rolled for Logan. Yeah, okay.
I would
You
be
can't
on
keep rolling. 9s.
So Grigor began in a game that Aaron ran.
I just rolled 2 9s in a row. 3. Oh my god. Number 7.
It's me when I'm asking people to do recaps. This is what it is. This is what happens.
Yep. I'm rolling dice that my friend Jonah gave me, and they really like the number 9 today. Which, thank you, Jonah. These dice are beautiful.
Jonah!
I love you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Okay, I know you're not listening, but I hope you can just feel the friendship smoochies from afar. But anyway, Logan, what was your inspiration for Ajisai? What have been some fun surprises the character has given you?
My inspiration for Ajisai. I don't know. I like to make characters who have a problem they proactively have to deal with. So like her entire situation is just born out of like, okay, let's think of like a situation that is long term but is good to solve, like is easy to solve and has layers to it, and the whole struggling with the lack of emotions thing seemed like a fun idea. I play in games so seldom that I normally try to do something like I try to do like make at least one really strong choice during character creation, and Agisize was a incredibly strong character choice. Some things that surprised me while playing Agusai is I didn't expect that problem to get resolved because, by all accounts, what I thought was going to be Agusai's entire story has already finished. I thought that the Revenant stuff was going to be the entirety of what we're dealing with, and I always kind of figured that if that got solved one way or the other, that it would be time for Ajisai to wind down and to finish what we're doing. And there is admittedly a part of my brain that thinks that as much as I like to push story forward, I don't know how much Ajisai has to do that isn't just me playing Ajisai.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's a weird thing to say, but when you're doing stuff in a D&D show, especially when it's a pre-written module that people can just go and read the module and whatnot, I do think that it's more interesting to have someone that's trying to accomplish something, and for the sake of the audience, as much as I can be fun just playing, there's more to do than just play a character. I find that I don't enjoy D&D much as a player when I find I am just following the path. I like not knowing what the path is and having a goal I don't fully know if I'm going to be able to accomplish it. So with Agisa, I'm kind of in a place of, I don't know what her exit point is, but I wonder if it's maybe time when one presents itself, but I'm not looking to get rid of them. But things that have surprised me. So the Regan stuff is super good. When I made Ajisai, I didn't make, even though they came in together, when I was conceptualizing Ajisai, I conceptualized them like in a vacuum.
Yeah, same with Regan.
So that's cool. I didn't know what way that was gonna go
No.
on account of the fact that whenever they came in, they were emotionless and what have you. So that's super cool, and I've loved everything to do with Regan, and I've loved discovering the fact that Ajisai, because they grew up sheltered in the mountains, they don't really know how to deal with complex situation. They don't know much about like helping other people psychologically or other people's needs. They sometimes have moments where they understand things better than other people because they have a simplistic point of view. But when a problem is complex, they don't know how to approach it. They can only understand things based on vibes, basically. So it's been cool, like, her dealing with the fact that Regan couldn't be reasoned with while they were under the effects of their madness. That was an interesting roadblock to hit and have to be like, yeah, Ajisai doesn't... If they can't force a personality their way through this problem, then they feel useless. And that was a thing to have to deal with. That was a powerlessness that she's not used to having. Yeah, traveling to somewhere where a genie restored her to what she's like to being alive and whatnot. I didn't expect that. That was a much easier route than I expected. I expected to have to go through a lot more grief to get to the point of being freed from that situation. There's some things I expected to have happen with Ajisai that I don't want to necessarily put a big label on them because I don't want to make it seem like I'm disappointed, but there are some things I would have expected to do with her to have to do with Kagetsuchi and the people from her shrine and whatnot that I just don't get the impression that they're happening. And I'm cool with that, but that does wrap me back around to my like, where's Ajisai's exit point?
Yeah.
If we've exhausted what remains of their story, then like how far can she how long can she live specifically for a cult murder boner, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
What else? It's been fun realizing that she hates civilization. She hates Waterdeep so much. I think that also comes, admittedly, and people at home, I've implied as much, but I'll talk about it openly. I'm a GM. I spend a lot of time with politics, especially in Vestige. When I'm playing, I like rolling dice and stuff. I do enjoy not being in Waterdeep or towns. I like being in dungeons and doing gaming parts of the game. A, because Ajisai is a very adventurous spirit, but B, every time we go back to Waterdeep, it's a thing of like, oh, we're just going to go back and rest. And then we're there for like 4 sessions, which even if we play every 2 weeks is like 2 months of games.
Mm-hmm.
And I would rather pop back to the cult and do cult stuff. I would rather find enemies to talk to. I am not I don't have the same like gambit of people to run through every time we go back to be like, how are you doing? And I have a very objective solution oriented mind. So every time we go back, I'm like, I don't know. We're probably going to do roughly the same stuff as last time. And then we'll do a thing. We'll check on people and we'll have shenanigans at the bar. And I find myself finding ways to occupy myself and I have fun. But when we're in like the dungeons and whatnot, I can point my brain at a part of a map that we haven't explored and be like, what's there? Like, it can surprise me. So, Ajisai's disdain for Waterdeep and civilization partially comes from me knowing that anytime we go to a populated area, game's going to slow down and we're not going to get to rolling dice and whatnot quite as quickly. I also encourage my fellow players not to tread the same water repeatedly, and we tend to do that sometimes when we go back to Waterdeep, is have kind of the same conversations repeatedly, and I spin out during those times.
Mm-hmm. I understand where you're coming from, and I'm like, yeah, there's a certain point where you're like, okay, we can only do the same thing so many times. I'm enjoying the events of last night's game. I've been stewing on that. I'm like, oh, we can't keep coming back here.
Y'all, we're bringing too much trouble.
Ooh, I have just been stewing since last night.
Yeah, I'm very in the camp as a player and as Ajisai of like, we need to avoid leaving the cult's areas when we can, and we need to keep pressuring them. Because every time we leave, bad things happen where we go, either related to or unrelated to us. We have a habit, and it's almost entirely because Kyra has the helmet of teleportation, and so it's easy for them to be like, what if we went back somewhere nice to sleep? It's like, well, the reason for that is because they keep attacking where we go to sleep, is why, in my opinion. But the ease of being able to leave is kinda making it so that we're not pushing as hard. And in a reasonable world, if the cult caught on to that we have this pattern of push in, kill a bunch of stuff, take off, disappear for 2 days, come back. Again, this is my DM brain and not my player brain, so it's not a good part of my brain to engage here, but if they noticed this pattern, the smartest thing they could do is find the last place we teleported out of, and if we disappear there, stack that place with fortifications so that when we pop back in, they can immediately jump us. And in my opinion, because I expect logical behavior from organizations, even if it's a cult, maybe I shouldn't be, but I'm expecting that to happen one day, and as soon as that happens, us leaving becomes a detriment to our entire cause.
That's kind of where I was sitting, like, during last game, just, like, in character brain. I was like, we can't keep doing this, because one, we're endangering other people, and two, like, they're getting the jump on us, and we need to push them harder. And, like, that's where, honestly, like you're saying, that was like, DM brain, I was like, that's where I was in character, honestly. So, I'm curious for next time we play. But I love Ajisai, and, like, like, I wasn't expecting, like, Ajisai Regan stuff ever. I was just like, oh, we're gonna come in together, yay, we've never been players together before, this is gonna be fun. Oops, we're kissing. Oops.
Whoops.
Whoops,
We're
lesbians.
kissing. Whoopsie doopsie.
Oopsie doopsie, Lady Ajisai. Oh, hell yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Gonna roll for another question, yeah.
Woo!
It's for Braden.
I'm going
Let's
to...
go.
A thing demands my attention. I'm going to disappear for like 2 seconds while you ask this question.
That's fair. Please don't leave the call. Thank you. Cool. Just because I don't want it to disappear his reactive. Alright, I'm gonna roll to see
That's
this
fair.
question for you. Yeah.
Quick, ask the embarrassing one now. Ask
Dear
the
Fenris,
embarrassing one now.
why you so sexy? No, I've already answered that question. Okay. Alright, to Fenris. Having known Lexi the longest, do you believe this budding relationship with her and Quintus can work? Are there any compatibility issues that concern you?
I think, okay.
Give me the tea.
Fenris thinks it could work. They just would have to both work a lot. But she has a lot of genuine concerns. One being Quintus's rushing into things, both in their relationship and in character decisions. Like, both in confessing to Lexi and the way he handled things with Diane, there's a level of concern that he could... And this is going to sound harsh, but this is coming from Lexi's friend's point of view, but dragging Lexi into a dangerous, / the highest standard, into a dangerous situation. That's one level of concern. Then there's the concern about the disregard to his station and the expectations, and how that will affect Lexi, because what is going to go down in the land away, we're not necessarily sure of, but it's clear that there's an expectation for Quintus to provide an heir, and also there's perhaps a feeling towards Quetzadria in regards to politics and sneaking and those sort of things, and espionage. And so, with Lexi being, like, this is going to be such a strange way of phrasing this, but like an out and proud Quetzadria, the land away might react to that a certain way, from my understanding.
Yeah, if she chooses just how not to hide herself when they go.
Yeah, I mean, well, because I can't imagine, because, I mean, Quintus is a very honest person. We'll have to see. But heckin', that's a concern, and like how that putting Lexi in that position is kind of like a little concerning. But also, Fenris knows that Lexi's her own woman, and that she obviously chooses the person that she's going to be with, and she sees something in Quintus that is worth the investment. And Fenris knows that Quintus's kindness knows no bounds, to the point of it actually being a problem. And so she knows, if anything, Quintus is going to be kind to Lexi and try his best to take care of her. So there's comfort and concern.
Mm-hmm.
Because if anyone's going to, try his best to treat Lexi well, it would be Quintus. Fenris probably wonders if Quintus will push Lexi to grow.
In what ways do you mean?
Well, I think a partner should challenge you in, just different aspects. And I think Quintus, I don't know. Fenris is curious to see if Quintus is able to keep up with Lexi in the sense of Lexi's very smart, very intellectual, even though she doesn't act like it all the time. But yeah, it could totally work. It just takes work.
Like any relationship, it's definitely gonna take some doing.
And Quintus says recently, saying I love you. Whoa. But what is time? We are living in such a dangerous situation.
Yeah.
It's just also, we were trying to possibly save and or kill her brother, so it was kind of a complicated time to talk about feelings.
What is time?
Soup. It's stew!
It's stew. Time is stew.
And we are not but the potato nuggets floating in the broth of time.
Oh, we made such
She's
good
trying
stew.
so hard to be hands-off about it, though, because she really does respect, as much as she can condescend to Lexi, or, not condescend, but I'm trying to think of the word for it. She regards Lexi as her own person. She can't make those decisions for Lexi, and she expects Lexi to make those decisions herself. Like the whole Diane decision.
Mm-hmm. It's like, that's up to you, girl.
Yeah. I can only guide you. Tell you what I think. But I'm not going to be here to make decisions for you.
It will definitely have a unique outcome as things progress.
Unique.
Listen, I'm choosing my words carefully. Heck yeah. All right. Well, thank you for your answer. Because I will say Avi's in kind of the same boat, but she has a stronger bias against Quintus. So she's like,
and
we'll see how this goes, baby girl.
Heckin',
I want you to be happy.
Fenris almost has stronger emotions to, like, Quintus and Avi's relationship compared to Quintus and Lexi's at this current moment. But we don't need to expand on that today. That's for another Wits and Crits.
Oh no, we're here. We're here. No, expand upon that.
Surely this isn't the time.
This isn't the time when I have you right here and I could be like, so what do you mean?
Like it's time for a Logan question, though, mayhaps.
No. Oh, let me roll the dice. Oh, look, it is actually a 2. Let me take a picture of that. I'm gonna take a picture of that I just rolled. No, I'm full serious as I roll into our beautiful dice tray. So expand upon that. No, expand upon that.
You can have one of if you visit nat19show.com/shop.
Well, I guess I'll enjoy my last few minutes in the company explaining this.
There you go.
But
it's a 2. Go for it. Say words at me. So what are her thoughts on that relationship there? Give me words.
I don't know if she'll ever address it, maybe, but there's Quintus, like, going ahead and making these, like, strong decisions, and then there's Avi publicly, like, undermining people within the group. And I think that Fenris is like, Avi, I don't know if you know that that's a problem, but I might need to talk to you. Be like, stop it. Be kind. a little
okay,
bit.
But give me examples, because I'm like, I know, but for the audience, like, what are like specific examples of like the two of them? Because the two of them definitely butt heads and have different,
Oh,
very different
absolutely.
views.
I mean, the reason it's occurred, the thought has occurred recently is because everyone has kind of been, not everyone, but Diane was kind of being like, Quintus, you idiot. And that was the moment that we all needed to kind of support Quintus a little bit. I'm trying to think what the moment specifically was where it just wasn't in Fenris's eyes in that moment, it wasn't conducive to getting anything done. To be like, you idiot, Quintus, or whatever was said.
Oh, was it when we were...
Let's strike discord in our team immediately before facing Diane.
Yeah! It's a little, like that, very that.
Was it when Quintus, explained kind of, like, what happened with Diane? It's like, oh yeah, I made her out herself. Like, you're a fucking idiot. It's like, I knew you were stupid. Dude.
Maybe yes.
Because I know there was also another moment in the mansion when she's like, yeah, I have no faith any of this is gonna fucking work. Just letting you know.
Yeah,
I don't think it's gonna work.
Fenris really does appreciate Aviana's hesitance and continuance to question what we're doing as a group. But sometimes it's very similar to why Fenris and Avi fought in Honokuni, where Fenris was trying to protect the group and Avi was, being negative in that space, and Fenris had to be like, okay, but stop.
Mm-hmm.
And call it to a vote. It's more just thoughts to make the group run more cohesively in Fenris's mind, but yeah. I don't know if Fenris will ever address those things, because it's also not her place in the group to do so. Although I don't know if we have a social worker within our the highest standard social worker to talk about inner group.
Someone call Fosh. Fosh is our team
no!
counselor.
No wonder Vogan keeps such a level head. He doesn't want to go to the comfort counselor's office.
Fosh is our HR department.
Oh my god.
Wow. But yeah, that's the thoughts there. Fenris often sides with Aviana when Avi pushes back on Quintus, but Fenris...
There's a time and place.
When Fenris pushes back, similar to when Fenris and Quintus were fighting about the fume situation so long ago, when Quintus wanted to starve them, basically, and not give them food or water. Oh, shoot, my train of thought just evaporated. Shoot, what was I saying? Oh no,
You're saying similar to when Quintus wanted to starve out
yes,
fume.
Yes. Where, he's making a strong decision that isn't who we are. Or isn't something that the group is agreeing to, it's something that Quintus has
Making
decided.
choices for the group.
Yes!
Is effectively, I think, what you're trying to say, yeah.
Yes. Thank you. But a lot of the times when Avi pushes back in that regard, Fenris is right there alongside her, but more pushing back so that Quintus can reflect and learn from it. Versus...
See, I phrase things as Avi in a very specific way sometimes, but her goal is to make him reflect. She's just not good at words.
It's true.
She doesn't.
It's very much
well.
Yes, and Fenris understands that sometimes. Here's what it is. Here's what it really, really, really is. I think my brain has put it together very succinctly. Here goes the most discombobulated thing ever, but we'll try. Fenris understands that Avi's anger gets in the way of what she's trying to say sometimes.
Yes.
And so, Fenris wants to talk to Aviana about, instead of just telling Quintus he's an idiot, maybe saying why in this situation or what he can improve on. I don't know. I haven't thought about it that hard. I've
like,
just
hey,
thought, like,
make your anger more constructive.
this has made me yeah, maybe. This has made me think about it far more than I just threw that thought out there jokingly, but when you asked for more. But yeah, I think that's likely what's going on.
That's so fun. I love it. I love that. That's why I have the show. I love knowing the inner workings of like characters' brains and stuff like that, because I spend so much time just in my own character's brain that I like knowing what y'all are like kind of thinking and like what their reactions to certain things are on the inside, because there's a lot of us who are very internal role players. So it's fun. It's fun to get that juice.
Well, Fenris is not a very aggressive person. She's very... If she doesn't have to say the harsh things, she will gently guide you towards what she wants you to do.
What?
Or just give her teeth.
Nah, it's just funny. Don't worry about it.
Give me the teeth.
Give me the teeth. Give them to me.
Thank you!
And thank you for that answer. We're gonna ask another question. It's for Logan.
Yeah!
Assuming you're good to answer a question, Logan.
I am. I'm up.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna take a picture
So
of what
Gregellian
number...
began in a table game with Aaron.
If the audience wants to tally how many fucking times I rolled a 9 today. Listen, if I was rolling damage today with this D10, I'd be so happy. I'd be like, oh, mwah. Or rolling hit dice, let's fucking go. This is not conducive to how my show's supposed to work, dice. Yeah. Okay, it's a 6. We haven't asked this question. Or have we? No, we haven't.
Ooh.
Cool! This is sort of a what-if question, but I think it's fun. If Argo and Tantia had been with the group when they were sucked into Honokuni, how might they have individually reacted to the Domain of Dread? How might it have affected them, especially because we were dealing with Taguchi and Crystal Queen stuff? How might that have affected our beautiful duo?
If Argo found out what who Taguchi was and who Taguchi worked for, Argo probably would have drawn a line in the sand and would have likely demanded that they kill Taguchi, actually. But at the very least, they would have made it clear that if the party was going to associate with Taguchi, then they were not going to associate with the party, and would have considered it a huge betrayal to do otherwise. Regardless of what Taguchi's, like, outlook on the Crystal Queen is, it wouldn't matter to him. That said, Argo would never go as far as to become an enemy of the group. It would never take that to the extreme of then I'm against you, but it would have been like I'm gone. Talk to me when he's gone. I imagine that Argo and Tantia collectively would have likely wanted to pursue finding the stars immediately if they heard about them, because if there's a resistance group, they probably would have been just straight away about trying to find out what's up with that. And then they would have gotten sucked into Enchig's energy, because they are not dissimilar in how they approach problems. So they probably would have done that, and assuming that Tantia would have gone with Argo, because if Argo decided to run off in Honokuni, Tantia probably would have also left with him, just to make sure that he's safe and to keep the band together. Yeah.
No, keep her out of there.
Some things are more important than others, and when it comes to Iocane, you don't split up the band, no matter what. But they probably would have ended up being a force that would have tried to rally more people together if they had been there. They would have met up with the stars and been pretty loud about specifically taking down the Zugaiken, because that would be their style. They would identify the Zugaiken as like, oh, so these guys are the ones that are everywhere. They're the network of oppression that the other table members use to do stuff. Fine, then we'll kick their ass until they don't want to be evil anymore. and they would have thought of that as a solution to the problem. I imagine if they became anyone's direct enemy, they probably would have taken, if they were there, their story would probably have been most specifically connected to Sagittarius, because Sagittarius and Baroth's positions with the Zugaiken would have made them the most obvious targets for Argo and Tantia while they were there. Beyond that, I think that's probably everything else would have to emerge naturally, but they would not associate with Taguchi. They would gravitate towards the stars, and they would consider Sagittarius and Baroth to be the main focuses of their energy if they were there. It probably would have, assuming neither of them were the hunted, then I don't imagine the place would have affected either of them terribly mentally, because both of them tend to have the worse things are, the harder we try way of approaching problems that's pretty unbreakable. Like, Argo's already constantly depressed.
Yeah.
Honokuni would kind of just play into that, and I imagine, if anything else, Argo probably would have become less jovial and been more of how he feels. But the outcome of that would have been probably him doing the same things he'd normally do, just with less optimism attached to it, because Argo is constantly depressed about things. He deals with it by having a devil-may-care attitude. He probably would have just dropped that and become a bit more ruthless while he was there. Argo and Miriam, big bubble in my throat. Argo and Miriam are actually, like, very, very similar in how they deal with responsibility and trauma.
That.
Mm-hmm.
My god.
Yeah. So that's probably where that would be.
It's interesting. I have so many thoughts.
I don't know, maybe a DM Fiat, I don't know, to torment Braden. Maybe Ravissima would have taken an interest in Tantia. That sounds fun. So much of my DMing is like, well, logically this would happen with the set pieces, and then of course there's the 20% that's like, I don't know, this seems like a fun thing to do.
I'm suddenly so much more glad that I kicked her ass. Good.
Die.
Tantia probably would have had complex feelings about the nature of the plane they were in, but that's a topic that we'll interrogate probably never.
Like the other time that they were in a different plane and they were like, that felt funny. I haven't forgotten that.
To be fair, the God Trap was not a different plane, but same vibe, yeah.
I'm on to you, Laidlaw.
It just makes me think, especially because Avi has such a history with, like, Argo and Tantia, and I don't think she would have had the relationship with Taguchi that she wound up having if Argo was around. If he was like, fuck this, she'd probably be like, okay, all right, fuck this. Yep. I'm much closer to you, and I care a lot about you and know what you're about, so, yeah, no, fuck this. She would not have had, like, that father-daughter relationship that became what Taguchi and Avi were. She would have been much more protective over Argo and might have even just gone with them. She's like, I'm not hunted. She probably would have just gone with Iocane.
Argo...
Like, that would not be great for, playing with the group. But, like, if I were to think of it, just think of it on, like, a story base, that's where her, like, heart would be, is with them.
Unfortunately, Argo's emotionally incapable of, like, even if he found it himself to be like, whatever, you serve the Crystal Queen and you're trapped here, cool, okay, mutual experiences, I'm gonna develop no opinion on you. Like, that's hard to believe, but maybe he could do that. But he's emotionally incapable of being, like, of tolerating someone who tries to justify that the Crystal Queen could A, get better, or B, was ever anything worth protecting. Like, any defense of the Crystal Queen that comes down to, she's also a victim in this, Argo would not be able to stand that. That would delegitimize all of the things that he feels and has lived for, and it would make him actually violent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could not see a relationship there going well at all. Interesting. I love food for thought questions like that. It's neat. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for such thoughtful answers today. All right, we got time for a couple more. Let's roll the dice. Okay. It's for Braden. The dice have been pretty fair, honestly, today. With
Yeah,
how
it's been bouncing.
Yeah.
It's been bouncing, and I'm like, I split up the
I like it.
numbers.
I like it.
2 and 3 are Braden, 1 and 4 are Logan, and they've been pretty even. I'm pretty about it. Thank you, dice. Except for your constant 9s, D10. We need to talk. Unless I roll you in a game, then you're good. All right. Okay. Number 4, we answer that one. Okay. This is fun. I rolled this initially while Logan was gone, so I re-rolled for that other question.
Oh no.
So now that Logan's back, I wanted him to be here for this. So Fenris, after the chicanery that occurred regarding getting to the White Steel Grave when you came across the Valkyries, how do you think your armor and your connection to the gods, Pale Lady to Quinn mainly, will help you when you eventually go back and stand trial for your crimes of kidnapping Calates?
I don't know. We're so boned. I really don't know. I really don't know. Gosh. I was quiet, not this. I've kind of been absorbing the fallout of that as well. Just mentally of like, oh my gosh, the first people that Fenris has felt akin to in like 100 years. And this is what we're doing. Alright, cool. I mean, we can hope. Hopefully her ties to the Pale Lady and, hopefully her intentions to bring back what I can only assume. If we're moving forward with the assumption that Nemesine and the Pale Lady are one, it's assumed that they were the original creator of the Nephilim. Question mark. I don't... Yeah, the DM's in call, but I know he won't say anything.
Oh, they could be. The Pale Lady?
If the... Nemesine created the Nephilim, correct?
Yes, Nemesine, it has been effectively completely confirmed. They created the Nephilim, not to be like a servant race, but they created them to bolster the ranks of mankind, so that they would have more hands on deck. They also created them for a much more charitable reason that people could probably infer. It has to do with the fact that their existence is based on previous experiences. But yeah, to answer the question simply, yes, Nemesine created the Nephilim and the Abiding Heart.
Yeah, if we're assuming that the Pale Lady and Nemesine are 1-to-1, there could be like this, hey, do you want your old homie back? Like, what if we said nay to the current boss? But also, I don't think that that's an angle we have any right to be gunning for at this time. We literally just kidnapped someone.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we can hope that they, like, all of a sudden they're like, oh, Fenris!
Our queen!
Gods! If only. No way. That would be an easy solution, though.
Right. Do you think that Fenris is, especially because of that one of our latest communes, if not our latest commune, where seemingly the Pale Lady responded to Fenris instead of to Quinn, do you feel like that connection to her has like been stronger here for Fenris? Do you think that connection is going to help her at all here? I'm just pulling questions like out of pocket here, but I'm just curious what Fenny's perspective is on that.
I think when Grigel Gugor said all of that stuff in Honokuni, when we were looking at the statues, and he looked at her and he recognized her, and then also Heckin, excuse me, my train of thought. When Grigelgagor kind of recognized her and then said that, oh, you need to just wake up, kind of this, she's looking at herself with much more scrutiny because she really thought she knew who she was. And I did too. I thought I knew who Fenris was, but it's, in the cauldron, it's really occurring to me that maybe I don't. And maybe Fenris doesn't either. But, like, seriously, though, it's all kind of dawning on her as of the last 4 or 5 sessions. And, my favorite thing was after that commune, Fenris tried to reach out specifically to the Pale Lady to ask if they were connected in any way, and it failed, and we got nothing from it, and it left her in the dark, which is agony. And then she sees the Valkyrie, and she's in more agony. It is just delightful. Who am I?
Are we like sisters or something? What the fuck is happening?
Why do I get strong aunt vibes from you guys? Why do I feel like I'm my take on when Logan when you gave the direction that Fenris observed the Valkyrie as like aunts. She would aunts and stuff.
Did I say aunts?
Something.
I think I said like a distant
familial?
Recognition. It is not like me to be that specific, I don't think.
I honestly do not
I
remember, so maybe.
I think maybe
don't know.
you landed on aunt and might be
possibly
have been running with that.
It is definitely likely. However, I guess the way that I internalized it is like, oh man, I'm embarrassing myself in front of these people who I, for some reason, have weight. Like, their viewing of me I want them to think a certain way. And that yeah. So there's a...
I'm so curious how shit's gonna go when we get back, because I was like, Diane, that ain't the end of it. Wait, there's so much left to do. There's so much shit, and there's consequences for our actions. I'm excited for those consequences because it's fun.
Oh, we haven't even begun.
Oh,
I know. Not that I know anything. I'm just like.
When it comes to things that are left in vestige, we haven't even gotten started.
Oh yeah, that's why this is campaign 1. We got shit to do. But heck yeah, wonderful. I'm gonna ask another question. Dice, you're being so kind. Thank you for that one. We're gonna ask Logan question.
Woo!
Wow, the dice are really being this die, the D4, sexy, so kind. Okay. All right.
Grigelgagor began as a character I played.
It was a 3 actually. It wasn't. I was just laughing because this question amuses me because it's also gonna make Braden squirm.
Oh no.
So,
no.
Tantia.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just seeing if I would get an out of them.
Okay.
There you go. Thank you. I needed that in order to read the rest of the question. You see, that was my prompt.
All right, I'm ready.
So Tantia told Fenris she would follow her wherever she went. Is this a result of not having said as much to Aviana or because of or because of what Aviana did? Or is this something else? Or is it just because she's like, hey, that Fenris, I like that one a whole lot.
I don't want to like remove the mystique or anything from the relationship. But there's 2 factors at play. One is they had previously discussed ties to the Crystal Queen, and as such, Argo was invested in remaining around the highest standard because they were a lead. given that, Tantia just really likes Fenris. It's not based on anything highly emotional as much as it seemed like the move to make. And
that sounds about right for Tantia.
It ended up being the move to make, so they were right. So they were being honest about it, but they basically, Argo had all but already decided for them that they were probably going to follow the highest standard wherever they went, at least until they seemed to be a non-starter. So with that, Tantia was very much in the camp of like, oh heck, well, I'm like, my god, I'm really down bad for that elf. So if we're gonna follow them around anyways, then I don't see any reason why I can put the moves on that.
Hell yeah, get it, girl.
And that's the incredibly shallow reason that went that way.
I love it. I love it
Yep.
so much. I adore Tantia.
Wish I had a more emotional.
Impeccable.
No.
Yeah.
No,
I was
not
like-
at all. I mean, sometimes it just happens like that, where it's like everything comes together perfectly, and it's like, yes, I want that one.
Yeah.
I love it. I was like, that question got asked, I was like, this is gonna go one of two ways. And I'm excited to find out which, and I have a feeling I know which. Hell yeah, I love it. Fucking, I love all that shit.
I remember, I think that question came up because of a conversation Hayden and I had on Chaos Cruise, where
Probably.
we were talking about the way that Avi left and the way that, would Fenris be intimidated? And I think my response, well, cool, like a little cool, was, I guess Fenris isn't intimidated because if Fenris left, Tantia would follow. And that received a, like, oh.
Yeah, I remember being like, oof, ow. Yeah, I won't pretend that's not on the bird girl's brain. On occasion, be like, ow, that's fine. That's fine. She has someone who will follow her. That's cool.
Still turning around like, are you sure you don't want the elf behind me?
Are you sure?
I mean, sure. I'm so, yeah. Please.
Oh.
It's so fun. I love it. I love shit like that. It fuels me. I let go of my pedal like a silly, but it's okay. OBS could hear me, just not you guys. But I'm like, I love stuff like that because it fuels me. I love little interpersonal things that aren't like, they might not be a big deal, but they give so much, you know?
Yep. Sometimes stuff's deep, and sometimes stuff is what the stuff is.
Sometimes simple is good.
It's already enough going on that's, I don't know, I tend to very much, like, gravitate between, like, characters that are rather complicated and ones that are incredibly straightforward, like bluntly so. There's not a lot of characters in Vestige that are really occupy a middle space where like they're like some of their actions are highly motivated and others aren't. It tends to be very, this person's got one brain cell, and it's capable of greater thought, but this person's got one brain cell and it's pointed in this direction, and other characters are like, I don't know, they got a lot in their mind. The election's coming up.
And the promise tomorrow.
Right. Tantia is very much a brain cell pointed in one direction character.
I love it. I have so many thoughts on that.
It's everything.
I'm like, I have so many thoughts. It's not my episode. Ask me questions about it on my episode. Anyway, we have one more question, and because we have time for one more question, I'm just gonna ask it to Braden, but I will roll to figure out which of the last two. Okay, let's go with that one, I guess, because the dice decided. So tell me about Grigal Gagor.
Damn it! I was sitting here
Gagor was a
silently
character
hoping
that Logan played in Aaron's game.
That was what I was hoping was gonna happen, but I was really hoping that they would do it just on their own. I was sitting here being like, you have the chance to say the funniest fucking thing in the world right now. So Grigal Gagor is a character Logan played.
Yeah.
Love y'all
I'm glad we
so
got to
much.
some version of it.
Same. All right, so Fenris,
Yeah.
as a fellow survivor of the Pelvarian Accords, do you feel as though Diane deserves the fate that's been given to her now?
No.
Good,
I
great
mean,
answer.
yeah.
Alright, that's Wits and Crits.
It's a very unfortunate web of lies that Diane has weaved herself and gotten tangled in. It's very unfortunate for Fenris. As much as Fenris understands Lexi's frustration and, you know, the dangers of Diane, there's no question that there's an incredible mind that Diane has, and that, you know, she was doing a lot of the right things with the right intentions, but, you know, at some point she crossed over into darker territory and it's gone too far. It's almost like a we're too late situation of not being able to change the course of events, because this is what it's been set on. I don't know if we're going to be able to change the way things unfold from what's expected, but we'll see. But Fenris very much sympathizes, as much as she did with Revissement, although they're from two different time periods.
It's like very much, I understand how you got to where you are kind of situation.
Yeah, I see the path that took you to where you are, and also yours. As much as Revissement was such an incredible performer, the loss of how incredible of a politician Diane could have been, if given the right resources. And if, you know, her involvement with the family hadn't gone on as long, and if she had taken a path similar to Avi's. Like, there's just so many... It's just very unfortunate.
Makes sense. I think everyone has such different perspectives on what's going on, and that's what makes it so interesting. And I'm very curious to see how things are going to play out from here, because as always, they're not going to go in any direction that we expect them to, and that's what makes it juicy.
I think it speaks volumes that Quinn has the fewest thoughts on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
What? Their way of living's backed them into a corner? What do you mean?
Yeah, that's...
Why don't they just stop?
That's the vibe!
It so sucks, because it really is that. You know, if she had been able to approach things a proper way, who knows what Diane could have become. I mean, it's almost it's literally a shame.
Everyone is, like, she's, you know, playing the hand that was dealt to her. And she is doing the best with what she has. And sometimes her best isn't, like, doing quote-unquote good, you know? But she's surviving. And I'm like, yeah, I can see how she got to where she is. And she's doing what she has to, or what she feels she needs to. And I find it so interesting. But what I also found interesting was your answers today and this episode, because that is all the time we have today.
Oh.
So thank you guys so much for being on my show again. I love running this show, and I love having you guys
Always
on.
a pleasure.
I know people, when they come on the show, they worry about tangenting. That's what I made the show for. I want all your inner thoughts. I want all of your thoughts on situations. Never be afraid to tangent. It's great. It's juice for me. This is for me. And you know, people are enjoying the show, which I'm glad. But you know, it's for me. But thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and thank you guys so much for answering all our audience's wonderful questions. Where can people find you? Let's start with Bradley Boo. Where can people find you if they want more Bread Brederson, if they want more Braden?
You can find me on YouTube under Bread Brederson. You can find me on Twitter under Braden Voices, and you can find me on Instagram as the Braden Alexander. So come check me out.
Yeah. What about you, Logan and Nan?
You can find me on Twitter as the Azure Crow. You can find me on Blue Sky, I believe, as Logan Laidlaw.
I think so. That feels correct because I followed you recently.
I think I'm Logan Laidlaw on there, not the Azure Crow. So if you see the Azure Crow on there, it's not me. You can, of course, find me on YouTube at either Project Mouthwash or Nat19 Official, where our two things are. On Twitch, you can find you're watching this on either the Twitch or the YouTube, so you know one or the other. You can find me on the Twitch running all the stuff. You can find me on DriveThruRPG. All my stuff is authored under Logan Laidlaw, so if you ever go on there and want to see all the stuff I put out, books I put out, then check that out. Of course, visit nat19show.com because that's another obviously big thing if you want to keep up with what I'm doing. And beyond that, I think that's where you find me. Those are the places that you find me. Apart from watching stuff I've voiced in and the like.
Yeah. Hell yeah, you're both so wonderful. And I guess, as I say every time, if you want more of me, you can find me on Twitter at HeyBaleVoice. You can find me on Instagram, HeyBaleVoice. On Blue Sky, I am also HeyBaleVoice because I'm just, I guess, keeping the trend. I'm on all those things. I don't really post on Blue Sky, but we'll get there someday. When they let me post GIFs, the memery will continue over there. If you want to watch my streams, I'm twitch.tv/ScyllaAria, where I VTube as a cute little fae. It's a good time. But most importantly, if you want more Nat19, which why would you not? We're pretty neat, I think. You can tune in from Monday through Wednesday for gaming streams with the cast. Monday it is not Chaos Crew, my goodness. Cutie Cult. We have Aaron, Carrie, and Spencer. Tuesdays is Cool Kids, where we have Eric, Cody, and Izzy. And then alternating Wednesdays, when it's not Wits and Crits, we have myself and Braden doing Chaos Crew, where we play games. Sometimes we craft. It's a good time. And then Thursdays, we have our alternating D&D games of Princess of the Apocalypse and Devil's Might Surrender. And of course, Saturdays, we play Vestige of a Fucus. And if you're interested in merchandise or you want to know more about our team, you can visit us at nat19show.com. And if you specifically want to get right to the merch and you don't want to do anything else, nat19show.com/shop. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. We'll be back very soon with another episode. I believe the next episode is myself and Eric. So get your questions in. I'll post. The link is in the description. Or if you're watching on Twitch live, I'll be posting it in the chat somewhere right now, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I've walked away. Who knows? I love you guys very much. We will see you very soon. Bye-bye!
Get your questions in.
Adi toast!
Questions, get them in.
You're loved and appreciated.